Hi everyone, it's Aid from Fave Photography, and today we're going to have a look at some of the new masking features and how to end-to-end basically edit this photo. It's a place called Staithes on the Yorkshire Coast. I've obviously got the horizon a little bit off on this one, and it's taken using a 6-stop filter, so we get a little bit of mistiness going on. I think it's 4 seconds exposure. So let's crack on with it. First up, I'm going to pop into develop and I'm gonna level it up. So 2 ways of doing that. The best way is often just to go to your transform and hit the level, and it does it for you. The other way is to click the crop tool and use this straighten tool and just draw a line over the water. Water tends to level up naturally just due to gravity and everything. So if you've got water in your shot, it's fairly safe to take a level from that. So strategically then, what I'm going to do is divide this into 2 bits. I'm going to edit all the dark stuff in the water with the generic settings, the settings for the whole image. And then I'm going to do one of the new select tools, which is select sky, and then maybe just do a little bit of extra work on the sky. And then finally, I'll probably get the brush tool and just have a little play with this water in the foreground, because that's really the key to the shot, isn't it? Right, so first up, let's just have a little play. Is it worth bringing up details in these rocks? I think if we have too much detail, it might become a little bit overpowering for the eye, really. You've got all the detail in the water, all the detail in the sky, and then even more detail in the rocks. So I might not bother with that. I'm just going to brighten things up a little bit. So I'm just use the exposure for that. I'm going to bring the highlights down. I'm just tweaking the shadows to taste. So I actually think it's more dramatic with less detail in. So I'm going to go just for about there for now. Okay. So clarity will bring out a lot of local detail, texture. Clarity is just like a small contrast. Contrast is like global, it just makes the whole thing go lighter and darker. Whereas clarity, it'll bring out little details like in this rock face there. Right, so let's now have a play with colours. So everybody likes a good sunset. We can make it a sunset, which it wasn't far off, to be fair, by just increasing the magenta and the temperature. So we get this lovely colour coming in now. Now, if you don't want to go quite so faint, you can pull it back a bit. But it will make it a bit more of an eye-catching shot. Okay. So what have we got down the bottom? This is one thing I've started doing a little bit more of recently, is this calibration tab. So if you want real bold colours, I'm not going to go into why, but if you put the blue slider up quite a long way, it just increases the saturation of everything. Then, if you want to play around with these red sliders and increase, so the reds are going to control and make things like yellow, orange, red, all the warm colours a bit warmer, like that. Well, a bit more saturated. And then you can change the hue of them. So you can go a bit yellow, and you can go a bit more magenta. Maybe go a bit more yellow with that one. This is all down to taste, remember. It's nothing right or wrong about it. Whilst I'm down here, I like to put big nets on this sort of thing, just to draw the eye to the middle of the shot. I always have a feather on 100, so you don't get a defined edge. If you have the feather on 0, look, you get this sort of porthole kind of vibe going on, or it goes pure white. So feather on, whoops, not highlights, feather on there. and then the other two to taste. You don't want it massively dark on the edges. It just looks a little bit fake then, and a fairly small midpoint as well, just so it has a nice gradation on the shot. Going back up the palettes at the side, you may as well, if you've got a lens that's got a profile, do a lens correction on it. Might as well have the benefits of something that's only one click. And you notice when I clicked that, it corrected the vignetting, so it removed some of it. I'm going to just add a bit more there. You can go into manual and add vignetting here as well, lens vignetting if you prefer. If you want to increase any of the colours, you can go to this little fella here, get the saturation of the HSL panel, and click on the colour you want to change. So if you wanted to just increase the saturation of that colour, or indeed decrease it a little bit, you just slide upwards with your mouse to increase, or downwards to decrease. Now, on this one, Luminance, maybe I want to maybe just make this orange look a little bit darker. And I'm just, quite often it's good to just test what happens when you move these slides. So I'm going to click here, go up, see if it's better, brighter, or darker. So that's not got a massive impact there. Okay. So I'm fairly happy with those colours. Let's now just do a sky selection. So you click on the new masking button and you'll see you've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different options. Now there's a depth range, but my camera doesn't do that at the moment. I think many do. So select sky. This creates a nice mask, which will just be the sky. So hopefully below the sea, well, the horizon on the sea will be deselected, and the edges of these rocks will be nicely selected as well. Saves you drawing around them. So I'm gonna just add a bit of dehaze. What dehaze does, it dehazes. It kind of, well, I'll show you what it does. If you go negative, it adds haze. If you go positive, it pulls detail out, basically. Never go that far unless you're mental. So maybe somewhere like that. And now, because we've got separate control of the sky, we could make it a blue sky, we could make it an orange sky, we could make it a bit more purple. But I'm just gonna slightly add a bit more magenta. Maybe a little bit more that colour. Yeah, and you can decrease saturation. This is the beauty of masking. You can now do what you want to specific parts of the shot. So maybe that's a little bit on the overcooked side in the sky, but what the hell? We don't really need sharpness in the sky. And I'm going to actually reduce clarity a little bit, just to soften it up, because it's light, fluffy clouds. Now, once you're happy, you've got somewhere you like with that sky, let's just have a little play with the highlights. I'm bearing in mind here, I don't want the sky to be darker than the water, because the sky is what's lighting the water. And so if that's darker, it just looks a bit wrong, really. Right, so I'm now officially happy with the sky. So I'm going to do something with the water now. Let's have a look. Create new mask. I'm going to use the brush for this one, because it doesn't, if you did select subject, I don't think there's anything Lightroom would find there. I don't think it'd think, ooh, that water's the subject. So you get your brush, okay? And you can use your mouse wheel to play with the size of the brush. Now I'm gonna go for auto mask. So if I get to the edges of the rocks, it'll try its best not to paint onto the rocks, so you don't get these halos, and hopefully it'll find the edge of that water as well. I'm gonna do a lowish flow, maybe 30, 40. A lot of feather Feather just softens the edges so you don't get harsh edges of wave drawn. And then, yeah, the brush size, you just use your mouse wheel if you've got one. Right, so for this, I am going to add clarity, maybe texture, whites, and sharpness, just for a starting gambit. Remember, everything I do with this, you can change. All I'm doing is just painting a mask. So let's go for it. Maybe up the flow a little bit. Let's just, here we go. So what I'm looking to do really is just add to the turbulence and the maelstrom of the water. Now, this area here where the sun's catching the water might be a little bit too bright now. So what I could do is just press the Alt key, and that just reverses the brush. So it's deleting now. Right. Now, I reckon maybe adding a little bit of black will give it a bit more oomph. We call it lift in video editing. Adding black, it's quite a powerful technique. So there you go. That's added quite a bit of oomph to the water. But I kind of want to bring out a little bit of this texture in the rocks. And I don't think the settings I've got for the water are appropriate for the rocks, because I've added black, and we don't want to make the rocks any darker. So what I'm going to do is add a new mask. I'm going to use the brush again, and this time I'm just going to add some shadow, brighten the shadows a bit, texture and clarity and sharpness and whites. And then I'm just going to paint on the bits I think would benefit from it. I might reduce the shadows slider quite a bit, because I don't want to reveal everything of these rocks, just the bits where the light's catching really. And maybe the top of this wave barrier thing that they've put there. Let's see what's happening. Okay, so we've painted on where we want the changes to go, and now we can just vary this to taste. So if we put the whites right the way up, we do get these nice little, stuff, a wet look to it, pinpricks of light. So that's, the sharpness right up. And then you can just play with the sliders now. You've drawn the mask, and it's now your chance to just try things out. Okay. I think that's not so bad there. Let's have a quick look in. Yeah, nice and sharp. So once you get to this stage, you can go back and review your vignette. If you don't want the vignette, you can just turn it off. It does make all these rocks look really bright now, doesn't it? Because we've just darkened them before. So I think I'll keep my vignette as it was. One thing I have noticed is a couple of dust bunnies. We were on the beach all day, and I probably changed lenses, and a couple of dust bunnies got in. So we can go and just get rid of those. If you click on visualize spots down here, look, it will bring up the smallest of dust bunnies, ones you can't see too clearly on the screen. Let's have a quick look anywhere else. I couldn't see any more. So once you've got a shot done, an interesting thing to do is right click on it and create a virtual copy. So it just leaves the edit you've done on the raw file there alone, and you can now try something else. And this is where, if you wanted to, you could have a go at black and white. So there's all these other lookup tables or styles here as well. So if you wanted to, you could maybe just hover over these. So vintage 1, 2, 3. I mean, sometimes, I mean, that's really pleasant, isn't it? That's a nice one. Not so keen on that one. Yep, that's good. All these are doing is just remapping colours. So they'll change a pink to be a peach or a blue to be more green, that kind of thing. Something we use a lot in film called lookup tables. The modern ones, so yeah, so that's really grabbing hold of those yellows and boosting them. That's a bit more of a muted look. Yeah. Number 4 is my favourite for people photos. You can see it's adding quite a bit of blue. That's almost black and white. So you can see you've done all that work editing, and then at the end you can just go and get another look for free, effectively. So let's have a look at the black and whites. That's why I really came here. So if we just go down these in turn. I think we're gonna, whatever we do, we're gonna have to do a quick edit and lower the whites a bit. I'm drawn to that one. So we'll click on black and white 5, and when you're happy, just click close. So to get to those in the profiles, you click on this little 4 squares, and it pops up this, and these little arrows here open and close all the different looks you can get. So let's just tweak that. So I brought the whites down a bit so nothing's actually blowing out, and I think as we've darkened it, we'll have to brighten the shadows a bit, and that to me now looks too rugged and processed, so we can just pull back on the texture and maybe just up the clarity a bit. Let me just, here's a tip for you. Press your shift key and double click on white. In this case, nothing happens. Oh, there you go. It finds the brightest pixel and sets your white point to that, so it doesn't burn out. So it's a really handy thing. Same with the black, actually. If you double click on the black, is it going to do anything? Nah. That must mean that the black's in the right place anyway. So there's a black version, black and white version rather. So from something that looked a bit like that, you can get a nice black and white looking like that, or everybody's favourite sunset like that. The camera never lies. Thanks for watching.